Hey everybody, so it's been a while since I've done a video. Just want to kind of give you an update. Overall, I'm doing okay. Um, I think I did a video about my last PET scan and where it showed a mixed response. My doctor wanted to switch me to something else because there was a lot of activity around my left lung. So it's been a couple months. I started the new treatment. It was Tukysa and xeloda, which is the chemo part, and it did not agree with me. The xeloda ruined my intestines temporarily. The dehydration from the diarrhea sent me to the hospital, but I was able to be released within a couple hours once they got me rehydrated. But it was a very unpleasant experience, probably the worst I had. So we had to take like 3 or 4 weeks off of treatment. And then we started the IV version. So initially it was pills. There was the targeted therapy, the Tukysa, and then, no wait, excuse me, the Tukysa and the xeloda. They were both pill forms. But the xeloda is the chemo, and my stomach said no, and it was bad. And so we're still doing the Tukysa, but now we're doing an IV version of the xeloda, which is, they both end up being something called 5-FU. Don't ask me to pronounce the FU part. It's a really long word. But the IV version, strangely enough, is way better than the pill version. The pill version ruined me. So I'm doing a lot better. The pill version gave me severe hand and foot. So right now you can see my fingertips are a little bit red. With the hand and foot syndrome, what happens is the chemical from the chemo part, the 5-FU, leaks out of the small capillaries under pressure when you're like squeezing stuff, like gripping things, or using your hands a lot or your feet a lot if you're walking a lot. And it causes the chemical to basically kind of give you a sunburn. It's like a burn. And so the skin gets really hot and swollen, and it's painful, and the skin ends up peeling off, and it's just ugly, and it's a mess. But right now my hands look pretty darn normal, and that's being on the IV version of the chemo. So way better. The only downside with the chemo, the IV version, is so my voice is a little probably dehydrated. Is that I have to wear like a little pump thing. It looks like a lemon, and I'll have to show it to you next time I do it. But it slowly infuses over 2 days. So after 2 days, I have to remove the pump. I had to go in and get the pump removed, but now I can do it myself, and it's not a big deal. You just disconnect it and clean it and pull it out, and you're done. It's pretty simple. But it's a pain in the butt to have to wear a fanny pack for 2 days, day and night, while the thing's infusing itself. But the side effects are way better on the IV version of the 5-FU than it is the pill version. The pill version ruined me. So my intestines are still kind of recovering from it, but they're almost back to where they were before that ends the episode. I get my next PET scan January 27th, so a little over a month from now. One thing that's happened more recently over the last, I guess, month and a half to 2 months. I remember the first time I got. Well, I've been getting my lung cavity, not my actual lung itself. The air sacs are fine. It's this sac around the lung that's been filling with fluid. So they call that a thoracentesis. So I've had 4 of those since the last time I've talked to you guys. And what was happening is all the little nodules that are surrounding the lung were causing irritation and inflammation and fluid to accumulate. And the first time they did it, they pulled out 1.3 liters and not drained it. It was empty. Then 4 weeks later, it had filled up. It was almost full of almost 3 liters of fluid. So, and they can only pull out 1.5 liters. So after when they drained me that time, they only pulled out half of the fluid. I was still pretty uncomfortable. I could breathe a little bit better, but it was still pretty uncomfortable. Then the third time I went, they pulled out, was it 1.5 liters? Yeah, so it was 1.3, 1.6, 1.5. And after that time, after the third time, I felt a lot better. There was probably still at least a half a liter in that one lung area. So I felt a heck of a lot better. But when I went back 2 weeks after the last one, it had already filled up with an almost probably at least 2 liters of fluid, at least two, because they could only pull out a liter and a half. So at a liter and a half, they stopped. It was still flowing. It still wanted to drain more, but they can't, because if you drain too much, it could cause something called pulmonary edema, and that can cause water to actually be inside the lung, not just outside around the lung, which was what I've been having. So that could be a bad thing. You want waters in your lungs. It's one thing to have water around your lung, squeezing your lung. It's another to have it actually inside the lung. So, so I had my lung drained at 4 weeks, 3 weeks, and then two. So I get another one drained on the 29th. So hopefully the next time they drain me, they won't get a whole liter and a half. That would be great if that's, we could finally start getting less fluid, because less fluid means that the treatment's working. Also, the fluid could also be due to, excuse me, I have a low ejection fraction in my heart, the left ventricle, because of the medication. It's cardiotoxic. So over the last year and a half or 2 years, whatever I've been on this drug for, the Herceptin drug, which is also part of my treatment, it causes a toxicity to the heart, so the heart's not beating as strongly. And so when you have a low ejection fraction, they consider that heart failure. And so I have, my ejection fraction's been a little bit above 40, and it used to be 57%. So 40%, below 40% is bad. So I'm close to being bad. So when you have that kind of ejection fraction, they consider that heart failure, and the heart failure can also contribute to fluid around the lungs. From what I was explaining. Also, I was getting hydration sessions, and that also could contribute to fluid around the lung, because there's too much pressure, fluidic pressure in the vascular system, and so that can leak into the lung or into the pleural sac. But so that was the biggest thing that's happened over the last month and a half or so. But other than that, a little insomnia, a little bit of diarrhea, but still taking care of horses and helping with the cows and stuff like that, Sleeping hasn't been as good. Like last night I got about 4 hours, and I went to bed with plenty of time to sleep. Last night I couldn't get to sleep, which is unusual. Usually I pass out right up as soon as I hit the pillow. That didn't happen last night. And then I woke up at, I can't remember what time, but it was way too early. And I couldn't get back to sleep. So, on average, I'm getting 5 to 6 hours of sleep now, which isn't good when you're trying to heal. So, and the other good thing is, or not so good thing, is that on this side, I have another small part of my jawbone which is exposed, which means I have O and J again. And O and J is osteonecrosis of the jaw. So osteo means bone, necrosis means death, and of course bone is bone, right? Osteocrosis of the jawbone. So, but it's a small, it looks like, you can't even see it. It's like right where my finger's pointing, but it looked like a canker sore. But it's been there for way longer than a canker sore. And finally I'm like, I'm going to take a little tester and see what's there, and it's bone. It's not a sore, it's bone. So that means eventually that little piece of bone will cleave away from the healthy tissue, and it will be removable. Right now it's still semi-attached. It's still attached. I can't move the piece of bone that's dead yet. But it's small. It's probably no bigger than the fingernail. So it's that piece, it'll probably be smaller than a pinky nail, because the whole of the gum is not very big. I'd say it's not more than maybe 3 or 4 millimeters in diameter, or less than 1/4 of an inch. So it's not a very big hole, which tells me that the bone part that died isn't very big. And this is just a side effect of the bone strengthening drug Xgeva, which is also which is not as bad as the bisphosphonates, which are also bone strengthening drugs, but the bisphosphonates stay in your system. The nice thing about the xeloda that it does leave your system and allows everything to heal. So I was due to get my next injection of xeloda in January, but I've said, doctor, hey, we can't do this because the O&J is back. So I probably won't be getting any more of the xeloda to help keep my bones strong. We'll just have to take some other, less bone. You think a bone strengthening drug wouldn't cause bone death, but apparently it does. And I'm not exactly sure the mechanism of that, but that's just it. So that's the second time I've had it. The first time was on the inside, in the back, and it caused a little bit of gum recession, but it healed over. Some people aren't that lucky, especially if you've done the bisphosphonates. I mean, some people have lost large sections of bone in their mouth, and it takes forever to heal. My last episode took over 6 months for that to go from when it appeared to when it was healed. So that's a long time to deal with a mouth sore. But this one, I think, it doesn't seem to bother me as much as the last one did. And now I know what to expect. Once the bone comes loose, I know I can remove it, and that'll allow the hole to heal. Last time I didn't know that. Last time I left the bone in there, and I could tell it was moving, but I was expecting it to fall out on its own, but it was trapped by the gum. So I actually went in there eventually with some tweezers and gently wiggled it out, and then it finally was able to heal. So once I know that little piece of bone, once it cleaves off, I'll be able to gently wiggle it out of the hole, and the hole will eventually most likely close up and heal. The joys of having cancer, or being on bone drugs, everything has its side effects. Every drug has some kind of side effect, long or short term. But otherwise, I'm doing better than I was a month ago, which is awesome, because a month ago I was miserable. Just my hands and feet were on fire, and my body was tired, and my bum was on fire because of the diarrhea, and it was bad. So anyway, so that's what's going on with that, and so the mouth it'll be fine, and there was something else, but I can't remember what it was. But otherwise, it is what it is, and I still have a few more. So if this treatment I'm on now, the Tukysa and the F5U or 5FU, if it doesn't work, and I think it is working, I feel like certain things that were kind of starting to bother me are improving. Had some pain issues. There was a lump on my right arm that seemed like it might have been a little mini tumor, and it seems to be gone. So if I go to get my lung drained again at the end of the month, which is just in a couple of weeks, actually less than a couple of weeks, it's Saturday now, and the less fluid, that can really give me a good idea that, hey, I might actually be healing. So I'll keep you guys informed. I'm sorry it's been a long time, but for some reason, when I try to make a video on my iPad, which is way easier to do than on my computer, I tried to upload it, and then YouTube was not showing me a way to upload it. It was just showing me a generic web page or website with no upload button. And I looked and looked and looked. I'm like, so today I found the button. So I'll upload the video. And if you have any questions about, what's like to have cancer or anything I've said, I'm more than happy to answer. I don't get offended by questions. Sometimes I forget to look at the questions, but I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. I'm happy to share anything that I'm experiencing, if it might help you through your situation. But anyway, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Remember to make memories worth remembering, and find your joy and share your joy with others, because that's what makes life worth living. All right, guys, take care.